I want to talk about obesity. And I can, because I am fat. Not because I've got a disease or an addiction or dodgy genes. I'm fat because I eat too many donuts and crisps. There was a time we used to be shocked by morbidly obese people. Now they're the norm. We actually cater for them. We build jumbo ambulances costing millions. We build bigger hospital beds, bigger MRI scanners, bigger stretchers. We send 40-strong teams of firemen and ambulancemen into the houses of fatties who are so huge they can't even get themselves out of bed. Worse, our doctors have been told they can't tell people they're fat for fear of upsetting them, even though they'd never dream of not telling them they had cancer. Obesity costs the UK economy roughly £27 billion a year. 2/3 of Britain's adults and 1/3 of our children are now overweight or obese. And shockingly, 1 in 5 cancers is obesity-related. That's why it's time to stop pussyfooting around obese people, particularly parents who refuse to accept that what they put into their mouths, but more importantly, into the mouths of their children, is their responsibility, not the state's. Because obesity isn't a disease, it's a mindset, which can and must be changed.
Couple of points. Obesity isn't a disease. Is it an addiction?
No, I don't think it's that either.
So you don't think someone who...
I think it's a convenient excuse.
You don't think someone who just absolutely adores fried chicken and fish and chips and whatever else it might be, he, she, is not addicted to it?
No. I think if we don't want to talk about genetics and a predisposition, interestingly, I had a DNA test done last week, and interestingly, I am predisposed to obesity, but in a way that is...
Do you mind my asking if your parents were heavy? You don't have to answer this.
No, my mother wasn't. My dad was a bit like me,
right.
But my DNA says while I'm predisposed to overweight, that only counts for 20% of what actually happens to me. 80% of what happens to my body is down to me.
Right.
So what it means is I metabolize food a bit more slowly than, say, you do or you do.
Right.
So basically that just means I have to do a little bit more work than you two, which currently I'm not, but I have to if I want to keep slim. And I just get tired of the NHS, the cash-strapped NHS.
OK, but hold on a sec. Just a couple more things. You say pussyfooting.
Yes,
in what way do we pussyfoot around fat people?
Well, I'll tell you what we do. NICE, the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, has instructed doctors they must not tell fat people they're fat for fear of hurting their feelings. So, like I said in the intro, you can tell people they've got cancer.
You're absolutely certain.
I'm certain of that.
They can't say yes that they go on a weight management. I mean, they might not be able to use the F word, but they can't talk about weight management.
No, you can't say you're fat because it hurts their feelings. And it's...
I don't believe that.
But you can
believe it or not.
That sounds to me like a... If I dare say,
I know where you're going.
A Daily Mail version.
Paper I
just don't believe. I can
I
understand NICE has a guideline. I don't think it would be say you mustn't just because
say,
you might offend them. I think it's much more to do with
the phrase was to hurt their feelings.
If it doesn't help, But I mean, I think it's quite a difficult subject, this, because do you make the same argument about the National Health Service and alcohol? Do you make the same argument about smoking?
No.
No, you don't.
But if you
it's OK to smoke and drink, but if you get obese because you eat too much...
Of course it's not OK to smoke and drink. But what I'm saying is I think alcohol is an addiction. I don't think eating is an addiction.
I think eating is an addiction.
I think a lot of people have emotion.
Anything can be an addiction.
I mean, I must yield to one, but I do think you find if you research a lot of it, not everybody, some people are fat, they're lazy, they should do more exercise, but some people have emotional health issues, all sorts of complexes, and they cover it up by eating or in some cases drinking too much, and that piles on the pounds.
I think the state has a lot to answer for here in letting people think they have an addiction, because that way, if you say to people this is an addiction, it absolves them of all responsibility. But it means they don't have to do anything. They can just say, I'm sick, I'm ill.
People are certainly fat. I mean, I remember the first time I ever took my kids to Disney in the United States, and you couldn't believe how many fat people there were there. I just couldn't believe it. In fact, my son, we had a competition for who could find the fattest person. My son rushed up to one woman and grabbed her and said, Dad, what do you think about
it? I wasn't there, could be me.
No, I don't think so. I think you'd look relatively slim, I've got to tell you, compared to her.
That was nearly a compliment, Greg.
No, it's nearly a compliment. Well, let's make it a compliment. No, but, I mean, and we've gradually moved that way in this country. Now, it's much more to do with, surely, with the sort of food that is around and people eat.
Yes,
that wasn't around 20 or 30 years ago.
The evidence is that lower income groups are fatter because they eat cheap processed food. It's very difficult to lose weight. And AFWA, I'm hoping that AFWA...
It's not difficult.
Well, this is what happened to AFWA this week. She wasn't doing it to lose weight, obviously.
She really needs to lose weight.
I really didn't want to talk about this.
Can I
I just say this was not a weight loss thing? It was a health cleansing thing, but it is all linked because I think
that cleansing. Nick.
I did.
This is not a concept you're familiar with.
I did a 3-day juice cleanse, which was recommended by a nutritionist, and it's done with a company that makes sure that you get all the nutrients that you need for the 3 days, and they deliver your juices. But I actually basically passed out on day 3 of 3.
So that was really good for you.
And as a result, I've really injured my ankle, which I don't know how much that's going to cost the NHS when I rock up.
How much did it cost you?
At a minor injuries clinic.
Cost
it cost about £190.
There you go. That's really for a bit of juice.
I see it as
it wasn't preventative. Tell us what happened to you.
I wasn't expecting an ankle injury.
It had nothing to do with that.
So come on, what happened to you?
Why did you do it?
I've done it once before, and I just felt that my digestion was improved. I slept better. It broke a lot of my bad habits, eating out of tiredness or boredom.
What happened to you?
Last time it was fine.
No, what happened this time?
Yeah, I kind of passed out on the steps to a tube station, and then landed badly on my ankle.
Sprained your ankle?
Well, I've either sprained it or damaged the ligament.
So all those nutrients for 190 quid, you passed out.
I broke my fast with ibuprofen, which wasn't the plan.
These things. I've been
you do them, don't you?
Twice in the last couple of years, and actually they are a very effective means of
but they're very expensive.
Yes, they are.
Everyone, aren't they?
You can do it yourself.
About this is you
should the NHS pay
you
people
guys
to
are making an effort to control your health and your weight.
Yeah, but
there
they're
are lots of
educated,
people.
Carol.
But
these guys
Nick,
are well
there is so
educated.
much out there now, so much information out there now for people to look at. 20 years ago, there was a survey, 9 out of 10 people cared about their weight. Survey done recently, people don't bother anymore to go on diets and
I
look
feel
after
like
themselves.
what this conversation is missing is the kind of bigger picture. Because yes, we all have bad eating habits. Everybody I know who has a weight issue, and some of them it's under eating, and the pressure to be thin, as well as people who overeat. It all boils down to some emotional or psychological issue in every single case. But the bigger picture for me is our lifestyles. We have sedentary lifestyles. We work longer hours than other people in Europe. It's hard to make time to exercise. We earn less.
You've got to add it is about money.
I'm not saying
well.
there's no personal responsibility.
Poverty is a huge factor in obesity. It's very expensive to eat well.
There's a chance for you guys to take the mick out of me here. It's a grab.
Scales, please. Carole, we set you a target weight loss of 2 pounds, and last week you weighed 13 stone 5 pounds. Tonight you weigh 13 stone 1 pound.
Ooh, so I did my target. Excellent. Oh, good.
That's a stunning result. Congratulations.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. No, I'm happy with that.
On top of that, not only have you lost your 4 pounds, but from your hips, you've now taken off 7 inches. So this is truly a hip and bum diet for you.
Do you know what it is? My bum, it's gone, actually. I mean, there's lots of other stuff there, but my bum, it's true. It's good. My husband's very happy.
Well done. Good.
I remember doing a similar thing on a show I used to run at breakfast television with Diana Dawes. And she lost an enormous amount of weight, but I'm certain she'd packed herself with weights when she weighed in. I'm absolutely certain she had. And every week she took off another weight.
You may remember that. Well, you probably won't remember that series. Anne Diamond was on that series, and she was doing what we were all doing and losing weight, and then we found out she'd had a gastric band before the start of the series. But there you go. Well documented. You don't have to have lawyers on it. But the point about that is when I started that, I was 15 stone 10. I was the same weight as the England rugby prop forward, as my husband pointed out. But what I'm saying is I've spent my whole life trying to maintain, to not be this way. And it's hard work. At the moment, I've lost the battle. But, I will get back on it again. But I think a lot of people don't bother.
Well, I do know people who's the doctor basically says to them, look, if we'll help you, but you've got to lose 2 stone to start with. And if you don't, we can't help you. And I think that seems quite effective. But as I say, come back to equate it to this is what it costs society. I think that's the wrong way of looking at it.
But why is it? It's the single biggest expenditure of the National Health Service. £27 billion a year for the UK economy.
If you've got someone who's fat, are you not going to give him an ambulance?
Well,
I don't see the alternative.
I know what you're saying. I think we should be much more interested in preventative stuff. I mean, as we all now know, it costs a lot of money to do a juice cleanse. If you go to a shop like Whole Foods or one of those organic food shops, I'm always astonished at how expensive it is just to buy some organic carrots.
You don't have to go to Whole Foods. You just have to go down your calories and exercise.
Organic carrots. What the kind of girl are you? What the hell is going on?
Falls over and passes out when she starts trying to eat healthily.
Today's story that you can swallow that balloon. balloon. Should we pay for that?
No, you see, because that costs, just to swallow this balloon that kind of swells out in your stomach, that costs £3,000. And that's for the NHS is going to have to pay that. And at
that must be cheaper than bariatric surgery, though.
Well, it's about half the price of a gastric band up. Yeah. But, how safe is that, chucking balloons down your
we should do anything we can to help people. Just as we do with smoking now, just as we ought to do with alcohol, but we don't.
Yes.
And so you should do it with weight. You should help people if they're willing to lose weight.
I get all of that, but people also have a responsibility to help themselves. You can't. The state can't make you lose weight.
Why do you struggle then? I mean, if you accept personal responsibility,
because I like cakes and crisps and chips. But I like everything that's bad for me. I like puddings. I like I like treacle tart. I like all of the things that are terribly bad for me, and I always will.
So what are you advocating for somebody else in your position who should lose weight but finds it hard to? You're saying the NHS shouldn't be responsible. It's your own personal problem.
The state cannot be responsible for what people put into their mouths. People have to take responsibility.